Hello again YouTube, and welcome back to Just Get a Tesla. Today I thought it'd be interesting to do a comparison between my Tesla Model Y long range and Wifey's first generation Ioniq EV 38 kilowatt hour. The two are very different cars, but actually in a way they're really similar. Let's go and have a look. So the first thing to know obviously is there is a major design difference between the two cars straight away, in that the Hyundai has got a grille and the Tesla doesn't. This is quite controversial, and I know a lot of people think that a Tesla lack of grille is more of a problem than having cars built on the same production line as fossil cars having a grille. I'll be honest, I really like the Tesla, and I have done a different video on exactly why and what the design features are that I think are brilliant, but I don't think that the Hyundai Ioniq is a bad looking car. Actually, far from it. I think it's a pretty good looking car. This is actually the second one that we've had. So this is a full EV, but before this we did have a standard hybrid car, the one that has the really small battery in it, so you only get a couple of miles of electric only range, but it was fabulously efficient in terms of fuel economy, which is good. This is a swoopy hatchback, really swoopy. So again, you've got a fantastic swoop across the back of the car, which is really very similar to the Tesla in terms of trying to minimize the amount of energy taken to slice through the air and therefore make the car more efficient. The Ioniq obviously is a smaller car, it's lower, and that does impact a little bit on the way that the car actually sits in the back. So if we go in the back and have a look, and again, I know it's a smaller car and that's not really an issue, but the thing for me in the back of this car is it's quite snug on the roof. The roof really does swoop down quite low, which isn't the problem that you have in the Tesla, because the back of the Tesla obviously has got a much higher roofline, but it has also got the glass roof. So I can sit here and I've got an absolute pile of room above my head. There's also a lot more glass. There's obviously a big design philosophy difference as well between Tesla and Hyundai. So we all know what a Tesla Model 3 and Model Y look like. You have got an extremely minimalist dash with literally just a big screen and a handful of buttons. I really like this, but again, I know it's controversial. If we go across and have a look back in the Ioniq, we see a completely different design philosophy, because we have got a lot of buttons, and it's actually a well laid out driver's cockpit, so it does wrap around you and you have got all of the controls to hand. You've just got to remember where they are, because there are really quite a lot of buttons. Let's get into the front and see how that all works. Again, it's a really sensibly designed car, but it is built on the same production line as fossil cars, so it has all of the compromises from a packaging perspective that you get when you need to have a big bonnet full of stuff like an engine. We get things like a start stop button, which are kind of twee. The infotainment system on this thing is interesting as well. So you get a whole load of buttons that light up, and these effectively are shortcuts for the buttons that you get when you power the car on. Funky graphics, which I quite like, and you do have this screen in front of the driver, which is actually really good. One other point to note is it has got flappy paddles behind the steering wheel, and these do change the level of regen that you get. So I think I have to put it into drive. We'll still put the handbrake back on, but that's showing level 1 up here. I can turn it off completely, so the car will completely freewheel, and then you've got different levels of regen depending on what you're doing. I know Tesla used to offer you 2 different levels of regen, and now everything's programmed so it's just the same level, although there's a little bit of difference if you go onto chill mode versus standard. But I actually really appreciate having a system where you can change the levels of regen, because sometimes just having the car coasting, rolling along using the contours of the land is actually quite a useful feature. It really is. You get loads of these little buttons here on the steering wheel which actually change lots and lots and lots and lots of different menus, and you can cycle through all kinds of different menus on here. This car has got less automation than the Tesla, so it's got basic lane keeping assist. The posher model does have the active steering, but having had it on the previous hybrid Ioniq, it wasn't as good as the Volvo system that I then had, and it's nowhere near as good as the Tesla system. But to be fair, this is a decently sized vehicle. It's plenty comfortable for certainly for 4 people to travel in. I'd kind of say the same about my Model Y. It is a bit more of a squeeze if you want to get 3 adults in the back of the Model Y even. It's wider than this, but it's not quite wide enough. This is a comfortable environment to sit in, albeit with the fact that the headline of the roof does impede on you a little bit if you're tall. And again, a strange view out the back. You can see it's very similar to my Model Y in that you have got a poor view out the back, and this has got a split in the middle, so the tailgate actually is only on the top half, and then you've got basically a window in the actual boot, which is again, it's an interesting bit of design and I do quite like it. Other than that though, look, I do like this car. It is a completely different proposition to the Tesla, but as an EV, it's actually really good. This is obviously more efficient than my Tesla Model Y. It would be because it's a much lighter vehicle than my Tesla Model Y. So this will do a range of 160 to 180 miles depending on the weather, and we have got 180 out of it in the summer. My Model Y will do 310, 320 at a push. Again, I've got, you know, those kind of numbers out of it. So from an efficiency point of view, this will very comfortably do 250 watt-hours per mile, which is 4 miles per kilowatt hour. In the summer, it's more like 5 miles per kilowatt hour, so 200 watt-hours per mile. My long-term average in the Model Y is 280-ish watt-hours per mile, so 3.6, 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour. So it's less efficient than this, but it's much heavier, but it's not that much less efficient, apart from in the summer when honestly the Hyundai Kia drivetrain have absolutely nailed it for efficiency. Tesla is superb as well, and this is a point that you need to think about with EVs when you're looking at alternatives. And I'm saying just get a Tesla, but if you don't want a Tesla, or you can't afford a Tesla, or something else just suits you better, think about efficiency. It's not about the size of the battery, it's about how efficiently it puts the power down onto the road. So Jaguar and Mercedes and Volkswagen are notoriously bad with efficiency. They burn more energy per mile than equivalent cars from other brands do. Hyundai Kia, honestly, I have no idea how they do it. This thing just cuts through the air like a warm knife through butter, but doesn't leave any trace of the butter still on the knife. It's that slippery. It's probably helped actually being that slippy in that, very much like the Tesla, they have got fitted covers on the wheels, which again is a sensible idea. I've actually taken mine off the Tesla at the moment just to have a play and see what they're like. There will be a video coming up where I do a comparison of energy use, or I try and do a video showing energy use. Can I tell a reasonable difference in the amount of power that having those on saves with them taking off? I'm not taking them off Wifey's car. I don't think she'd be necessarily too happy, and the alloys underneath are not pretty like they are in the Tesla. So one major design difference, and you know that I have got both bonnets clicked open. So we know Tesla is designed from the ground up as an EV. So the motors, the inverters, and all of the electrical gubbins are on the, literally on the chassis of the vehicle. On the bottom, it's a structural battery pack that everything else is bolted onto. And that means that under the bonnet, you have got an absolute pile of space. I've filled this up with junk. And that's good, because that's what it's there for, but there's 117 litres of space under here for me to be able to go and put stuff in. If you go to most EVs, and this, like a traditional car, has got one of those awkward little catches, but look, the difference here is pretty stark. That is full of my junk. This is full of Hyundai's junk, because this car goes down the same production line as the hybrid and the plug-in hybrid, and so that it goes through the manufacturing process efficiently, they simply stack all of the electrical gubbins, and I'm not sure if you can see everything down there, but basically you just have a big stack that goes under the bonnet the same way that an engine would. So there is nowhere underneath to be able to store anything. It's just not that good. And sadly, even on cars which aren't built as hybrids and plug-in hybrids and EVs like this one, so you get other cars where it is a straightforward pure EV chassis, and yet there is still either no storage under the bonnet or very, 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 very little. I honestly don't get it. So the last thing that we really should go and have a look at is storage in the back. Okay, this is going to be an unfair comparison because that is a bigger car than this, but there is a basic point here. This is built as I said, a car that goes down the same production line as the hybrid and the plug-in hybrid. What that means is you've actually got a quite shallow boot space. Now you can fit suitcases and things in here. We've been on holiday in the old one, and there is a little bit of space underneath to be able to put your cables and tyre mobility kit and all of those other things, but it's just not as practical or well thought through from a design perspective as the Tesla, where when you lift the tailgate up, you've got this absolutely cavernous space, and underneath it an absolutely cavernous space, because again this thing is built from a blank sheet of paper upwards, designed to be as efficient as possible in the use of space, whereas this isn't. Back in the Ioniq, in the back, just to finish this off really, and again I'll stick my head back and not quite brush the roof, but not far off it. What am I trying to say in this video? I suppose really it's just about different design philosophies and different ways of building an EV that the manufacturers do. First of all, I really like this car. Really like this car. It is an extremely good smaller size EV, very good. It's well built, it's well thought through, it's extremely efficient. And the other point, of course, is it's a lot cheaper than my Tesla. I think when we got this, and this is on lease, the list price was in the low 30s thousands, 32,000, something like that. The Model Y, when I got it, was £54,000, so significantly more expensive. Obviously I could have had a Model 3, which would be maybe a little bit more of a size relative comparison than my Model Y. That knocks a few grand off that as well. From a leasing perspective though, we are leasing this and it's costing 240 something pounds a month, and the Model Y is costing me 694 pounds a month. Yeah, but there is a reason why that actually makes sense, and I will talk about the business of company car EVs in another video. So I think that's about it in this video. I will try and do some more cross comparison videos. I have got a couple more EVs that I've got access to have a play. I will take Wifey's car here out for a spin and show you what it's like to drive. Honestly, it's really good. And I'll see you very soon on the next one here on Just Get a Tesla. Because don't get the Hyundai, it's lovely, but get the Tesla instead.